Happy Friday, folks. Taco Trump continues to rule the memosphere, and the MAGA budget continues to be an absolute dumpster fire. So let's get into it and stick around until the end, please, for your fix of Trump taco memes, courtesy of the Midas Touch brothers. First, our friends over at the Tennessee Holler, and if you don't follow them, be sure to, shared this clip of Florida Congressman and Democrat Jared Moskowitz just demolishing the ICE budget and exposing the Republicans' hypocrisy. Watch Jared Moskowitz give his Republican colleagues a math lesson that they will never forget.
And then this one's my favorite. I don't know if you know this, but you guys have $858 million, again, almost $1 billion, okay, of money to give out bonuses to people. And so listen, bonuses are great when people do good work, but $858 million sounds like a lot of money. That's like a $40,000 bonus to every employee in all of ICE. So how about $500 million? How about $500 million for bonuses? Okay, we can do this together. We can show the American people there's like a little bit of waste here, So I can help you capture, Mr. Chairman, $903 million. We can save $1 billion together. Show the American people we're serious.
Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Of course I will.
Damn. I want to say that's all I have to say, but I'm going to say a little more. Jared Moskowitz does not mess around. This guy comes prepared, brings receipts, and shows Republicans as the absolute fools and hypocrites that they are. Now, while Moskowitz crunches the big numbers, one of these hypocritical fools can't seem to do basic arithmetic. Watch Brandon Gill try and fail to do 4 minus 1.6.
Well, first of all, let me go back to something that you said just a second ago. It's about how we would pay for this one big, beautiful bill. This big, beautiful bill pays for itself. We have $1.6 trillion in mandatory spending reform. That's the biggest mandatory spending reform in American history. That's put up against $4 trillion in tax cuts, making the 2017 Trump tax cuts that were so wildly successful that put our economy on a massively upward trajectory.
Yeah, and the White House has said
that is paid for with the spending cuts and then with economic growth.
Yeah, and the White House has
said
the
tariff revenue is icing on the cake.
Only in the deepest, most brainwashed MAGA mind does a $4 trillion tax cut with a $1.6 trillion spending cut, quote, pay for itself. Luckily, Brandon Gill very much fits that bill. It shouldn't surprise anyone and any of you that election denier Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law is out of touch with facts and reality. Folks, I'm no math whiz, and to be honest with you, I wasn't very good at it in school. But 4 minus 1.6 is 2.4, as in the budget sends us an additional $2.4 trillion into debt. Yes, you heard that correct. And while Republican members of Congress can't do third-grade arithmetic, the Trump administration is launching an all-out war on higher education in America. But Yale graduate and noted love seat buddy JD Vance isn't worried about a, quote, brain drain. Let's take a look.
So the war, I don't want to call it a war, but obviously President Trump, you have concerns about elite education in America, sure. Harvard University, and I do too, and it's great, and college is too expensive, but are we getting closer to the point where we might have something of a brain drain? I haven't heard that phrase in a while, but I'm hearing that, people at Johns Hopkins are getting nervous and they're going to Finland, they're leaving and they're concerned about the long term. Yeah. They do kind of do some important work, these schools.
Look, they do important work, but I make a couple points about this. First of all, I've heard a lot of the criticisms, the fear that we're going to have a brain drain. If you go back to the 50s and 60s, the American space program, the program that was the first to put a human being on the surface of the moon, was built by American citizens, some German and Jewish scientists who had come over during World War II, but mostly by American citizens who had built an incredible space program with American talent.
Now, I have a couple thoughts here, folks. Not that I ever am short for words. First, this idea that we don't want the best and brightest from around the world bringing their talents to the United States is just absolutely insane. And I want to use an F word here. I'm trying to curse less. You'll see I curse a little on this show, but it's pretty fucking insane. And second, Vance is purposely distorting the facts around the Apollo project that got us literally into space and then the moon. Plain and simple, America would not have gotten to the moon before the Soviet Union without the help of two former Nazi engineers. Yeah, you heard that right. Who became the lead rocket designers at NASA. A Hungarian immigrant designed and built the moon rover, and an Egyptian-born geologist helped choose the landing sites for the first moon mission and train the NASA pilots who were making the actual touchdown. God, J.D. Vance is just the worst. Now, not far behind Vance and the human caterpillar that is the second Trump administration is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who should really instill confidence in the markets with his latest update on China.
And what about China, specifically China, and that obviously started in a different place? How can you characterize those talks now?
I would say that they are a bit stalled. I believe that we will be having more talks with them in the next few weeks, and I believe we may at some point have a call between the president and party chair Xi.
Wow. It's just painful to watch Scott on screen, don't you think? Why does every interview with this guy look like he's reading a script in a hostage video? If you know, let me know. Give me a shout in the comments. All right, let's get to some hope and change, and let's make this name stick. Pete the Heat Buttigieg has been making the rounds on cable and podcasts recently, and really has been emerging as one of the sharpest voices on the future of the Democratic Party. And that's no surprise to many of us, and many of you may have seen the recent video when he was out there speaking to a very large crowd, and you had an American stand up and thank him because he just was so grateful to hear somebody who could speak in complete sentences. That's really where we're at with Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Now, this next video is a little longer, but it is absolutely worth the watch. Pete lays out a post-Trump path forward, and I think that is really important to really pay attention to when we talk about the fact that Trumpism is here to stay. So take a look.
We have got to make sure that our opposition and everything that we're against, and obviously there is a lot to be passionately against right now, but it has to travel with a clearer picture of what we are for. Because there are a lot of voters who, for whatever reason, and Democrats might be shocked by this, but for whatever reason, did not find any of the things they've seen so far about Donald Trump to be disqualifying. And what that means is there's something else that, it doesn't mean they necessarily loved him, but they need to see something more. This is not a question of accommodating things that we don't agree with or watering down or changing our values. It is a question of making very clear to everybody how your everyday life is different if we're in charge compared to if they're in charge. What your life could be like if wages went up the way that we propose that they be raised. What we would do with the money if we successfully stop the tax cuts for the wealthy that are at the core of Donald Trump's economic agenda. What we think could happen in a country where we had paid family leave and some of the unfinished business of fixing our healthcare system. It's not just a matter of preserving the Affordable Care Act, as important as that is. It's going the next step to make sure everybody can get and afford healthcare. All of these things that need to happen, that needs to be as clear a picture as our response to the authoritarian tendencies of this administration. Because the truth is, proto-authoritarian governments don't just come out of nowhere. We would not be in this situation if the government, the economy, and the politics of our country were healthy. They've been unhealthy for a long time. I think everybody knows that. And if my party seems like it's calling for a return to the status quo from before, that will be both substantively wrong and politically it will fail.
Pete is on the money. The status quo no longer exists, and the next generation of Democratic leaders need to truly have a vision for how they are going to unfuck Trump's destruction while accomplishing big things for you, the American people. Republican Senator Joni Ernst, on the other hand, is not interested in accomplishing big things for you, the American people. She just wants you to shut up and die. No, really, you cannot make this up. Let's take a look.
So people are not Well, we all are going to die. So, for heaven's sakes.
Now, that is some cold shit, Joni. Listen, Iowans, and by the way, I have many friends that are from Iowa who have family there that continue to live there or no longer live there, but have lots of old friends, family, and neighbors there. All right. So I want you guys to listen up as well. Joni Ernst has better things to do than care about whether you live or die. Like, for example, sexting with an Air Force general. No, really. Here's the image in this headline. Take a look. Okay. On that grim and disgusting note, I'm going to wrap up today's show by leaving you with the best 13 Trump taco memes from the last 24 hours. And I want to give a big, big shout out to my good friends and the brothers at Midas Touch for putting these together, or as I like to call them, my stepbrothers. And for everything that you guys do, Ben, Brett, and Jordy, and the Midas Mighty, to get out the truth and stand up for our country. And thank you to everyone watching and supporting the show. We're only a couple episodes in. I think this is our 6th or 7th episode. We're off to a great start. We're about to hit 7,000 subscribers today. If you are not already, please subscribe to our channel and hit that bell to get notified about new episodes. I really need you here. The more that you can help grow this platform and get the word out, the more we can actually get the truth out to voters, expose what Republicans are up to, and win big in 2025 and 2026, because there are probably 40 key elections this year that we need to pay attention to. And I'm going to do a video on that coming up next week. Now, I want you guys to have an amazing weekend. Enjoy these memes from the Midas Touch brothers.